Da 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 da. Da 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 da. Da da da. Hello, hello, hello. I would like to welcome everybody to the Kick, Push, Pull KPP Transformational Life podcast. And I'm your lovely host, creator, Summer D. Richardson. So listen, February is a month that we, around the world, in the spirit of unity, decide to pick that particular month, or matter of fact, February 14th to be exact, where we celebrate healthy and flourishing relationships, which is a beautiful thing. But the part that we often forget and that we don't talk about is how the human anatomy plays such a pivotal role in being able to obtain and sustain those beautiful and healthy relationships. And today, I have the wonderful privilege of having one of my best friends on today, one of my tribe members, a part of my sisterhood, here today to pretty much break down the heart from a health professional perspective. Tamara Taylor is the co-founder of Aspire Healthcare Solutions, which is a healthcare training institute right here in St. Louis, Missouri. Yes, you heard me, here in St. Louis, Missouri. She owns and operates it with her business partner and co-founder, Janetta Stommer. Aspire Healthcare is certified by the Missouri Coordinating Board of Higher Education and the Department of Health and Senior Services. They offer such things as CNA classes, patient care technician classes, phlebotomy technician programs, and the EKG technician programs. Her medical background includes a BSN from Southern Illinois University, Edwardsville, and her MSN APRN ANP-C degree, which really means that she's super duper smart and she's got all the credentials to show that, okay? From BJC College of Nursing. She is an expert in all things cardiovascular health, spending the last 20 years, yes, 20 plus years, working and treating patients in this area. And again, she is here to discuss the heart and the physiological sense, various conditions, warnings, and treatments. So today's podcast episode is entitled, How's Your Heart? So we'd like to welcome Tamara Taylor.
Thank you. I'm so ecstatic to be here. Thank you for having me. And you're talking about my favorite topic, which is the heart.
Yes, absolutely. Now, don't get it twisted. We call Tamara for everything, okay? She is an expert when it comes to all things heart, but trust me, if we got a cut on our finger, and I'm talking about a paper cut, we're calling Tamara. I don't know what to do. I don't know how to treat this paper cut. Before COVID, if we had a light cough or our throat was itchy, do you think we got strep throat? Do I need to go see a doctor? Tamara would answer our text messages, call us back, help us with everybody, from our mothers to our grandmothers to our grandfathers to our kids. She was our go-to person always for anything health related. And I especially want to thank Tamara publicly, okay? Because when I tell y'all, when my father, and I'm not going to cry, I might cry, but I might not.
All right.
When my father was ill and had massive strokes back to back in 2019, when my grandmother was ill in the top of 2020, and when my mother caught COVID and was on ventilators and hospitalized for months, when I tell you this woman had my family's back the entire time, calling and texting and asking us questions and making sure that we understood every single thing that the health providers and the doctors and the nurses were doing, making sure that we knew the correct questions to ask. I mean, it got to the point that we're doing Zoom calls because we can't enter into the doors because of COVID. Yeah. And these health professionals are asking me and my family and my sister and everybody, are you all in the health field? Are you nurses? Are you nurse practitioners? Because my friend, Tamara Taylor, knew exactly what to ask, knew exactly what to tell us to ask for, even to the very end when my father was passing. I called her because I was like, okay, I think this is it. And this girl was so kind and so steady and just really was preparing me. She was like, sis, it's going to be all right. Drive slow. I'm praying. You got this. She literally walked my family through several dark stages of dealing with grief and having to deal with being caretakers of loved ones who became ill. So, friend, I love you.
That's so sweet. I love you. You know I would absolutely do anything for you.
I know.
You know that.
I know. And I appreciate you. And I just want to tell you thank you. I'm so proud of you for stepping out in purpose and creating the healthcare school. You and Janetta, I know it has not been easy as young entrepreneurs and women, the African-American women in this industry, being an example to other women and other men and people from all walks of life, from diverse backgrounds, that you absolutely can win and do well in the healthcare industry. Yes. And you're needed. Yes. So thank you for being legacy.
Oh, thank you.
Impacting legacy. Your community appreciates you. Your family appreciates you. Your sisters, your tribe appreciates you. Your students all over. And Tamara's no joke when it comes to teaching.
No.
She is no joke. She's going to make sure you understand that knowledge.
Yes.
But
absolutely.
I want to talk about just giving people their flowers now instead of waiting till later or waiting till they're on death's door.
Yeah.
Appreciate people now. Love people now. Honor people now. Tell them and show them. So
absolutely.
Here's your flowers for you.
Don't
beat me up.
Oh, Lord.
Don't beat me up. I know you're going to get me.
Oh, goodness.
But here's your flowers now.
Oh.
I love you.
Oh, I love you,
and you
too.
appreciate
it. This is so sweet. Gifts. I love it.
She loves red.
I do. And I love roses.
And loves roses.
Absolutely. Thank you.
So, friend, I just wanted to start off with that at the top. Right there. Yeah, across there. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that'd be great.
Right, thank you.
So, now.
Yes.
Let's get into how's the heart conversation.
Well,
yes.
First of all, I had to represent my school today, so I have my embroidered jacket on, representing Aspire Healthcare Solutions. So I appreciate the intro. That was so nice, so sweet. I love it. Thank you.
Yes.
Okay, now you can go ahead.
Oh, no problem, no problem. So, sis, take us back to biology class, if you will.
Yeah.
I'm not even sure when we first learned about the human body. But can you explain to us, the people that are watching and the audience members and everybody, explain to us the physiological makeup of the heart, its main functions, how it works, its purpose. Can you break that down for us?
Sure. So the heart, it is a muscle.
Okay.
It actually is about the size of a fist. About the size of a fist. And in an average adult, it's about the size of a fist. Or it should be. It shouldn't be bigger than that.
Okay.
But there are some diseases that can cause that, which we'll kind of talk about as it relates to hypertension.
Okay, great.
But it has 4 parts to it. So 4 different chambers. The top 2 chambers are called the atria. And the bottom 2 chambers are actually called the ventricles.
Okay.
So we have a right atrium, a left atrium, a right ventricle, and a left ventricle. Sits down to the left side of the heart.
Okay.
That left ventricle is very, very crucial to pumping blood throughout our systemic circulation.
Okay.
So there are some things that we have to do to keep that ventricle intact and pumping effectively. So we'll talk more about that when we get into hypertension and coronary artery disease, because there are some things that can affect the pumping ability of the heart. Okay. Our heart is so smart. This is my favorite organ in the body.
Okay.
Your heart actually does not rely on your brain and spinal cord to beat. It has nothing to do with it.
Oh, wow.
It actually has its own electrical stimulation that travels through the heart to kind of coordinate different parts of the heart to beat at different times.
Oh, wow.
So it has nothing to do with your brain or spinal cord.
Okay.
Which is really cool.
Okay, yeah.
I always tell my students, and sometimes they think it's funny, sometimes they don't, because I'm a big Housewife fan.
Oh, yes. So we all are. Okay.
So I tell them this is a wonderful thing, because imagine that you're either on Instagram or watching your favorite show.
Okay.
And if it's controlled by your brain or spinal cord, you would forget to tell your heart to beat. And
wow.
So that's the beautiful thing about it. Your heart is beating to keep you alive. And it does not depend on the brain or spinal cord, which is excellent.
Wow.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Wow.
Actually what the heart does too, it receives blood, and it actually pumps blood throughout the entire systemic circulation. Okay. So it's you got to have it, and it has to work properly. In order to sustain life.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
Okay. So would you say there are certain things that could actually affect the functionality of the heart, like, let's say somebody's age, or if they're predisposed to, other conditions or hereditary or genetic things. Maybe there's race or gender or, somebody's economic status. Would that also affect, the functionality of how well your heart functions?
So age definitely can affect the heart. As we get older, the functionality and actually the left side that I'm talking about, that left ventricle, actually begins to weaken over time.
Oh,
that is just a natural thing that happen.
Okay, so that's natural.
That's why you see more of what we call congestive heart failure when people start to fill up with fluid and they start getting fluid in their lower extremities. Sometimes you kind of see it in the belly. It's because that left side of the heart is weaker than it should be.
Oh, wow.
And age, as you get older, that does tend to happen. Now, there's different varying degrees of how bad it is.
Okay.
But there are certain things that could predispose you to having worsening function, like a heart attack, high blood pressure, coronary artery disease, even sometimes a family history of cardiac disease kind of predisposes you to developing some functionality issues with the heart.
Oh, wow.
Absolutely.
Okay.
As far as, speaking of family history, what we tend to look at a lot of times is if someone has, let's say you have a first degree family relative, like a mom, a dad, grandparents. And if they've had a heart attack before the age of 50, or if they've had sudden cardiac death, like where they just, collapsed and went into cardiac arrest, we really, really pay a lot of close attention to the offspring of those folks. Because there is, not to say that it would happen, but the risk is a little bit more elevated for those folks that have a family history of cardiac disease, especially if it's in a first degree relative. So that's why it's really important to know your family history.
Yeah.
And you got to know it, because that can determine, I mean, we should all be living a healthy life. Like, we know what happened.
Yes.
But if I know that, let's say my mother had a heart attack at 45, I know I need to make better choices in my life so that doesn't happen to me. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So definitely family history kind of raises that up a little bit. Some other things, hypertension, which we're going to talk about, because that's that's the one.
You go ahead. We can fly right on. We can get into hypertension. That's where we were going.
Hypertension, elevated cholesterol, a history of diabetes as well.
Oh, wow.
When our diabetics come in with chest pain, we sometimes automatically send them for a cardiac cath.
Whoa. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So that's, and the cardiac cath, and I didn't explain that, that's when they actually look for blocked arteries. So it's a procedure where they actually inject dye and they can see the arteries of the heart.
Okay.
And if there's any blockages there.
Oh,
so
wow.
There are certain groups of people that we really, really pay a lot of close attention to.
And you're right, because I mean, the audience probably knows that I'm a type 1 diabetic. And I do remember going in to see my endocrinologist, and my blood pressure was elevated way higher than it normally is. And I normally don't have blood pressure issues, but that immediately alarmed them. Yeah. And they were like, oh, we need to go send you over to get checked out to make sure everything's fine. So that is, yeah.
So if you're young and let's say you're a diabetic, above the age of 50, and you came in with chest pain, we would probably just do a stress test on you just to see like how your heart works while you're on the treadmill. That's kind of what we're looking for. Any like changes on the EKG while we put you on the treadmill and you're just like going. They raise the incline on the treadmill. We're trying to see what's going to happen under stress. But when we have people that are 50 and above, 55, and they come in with those classic symptoms, and if they're a diabetic, you're going to the cath lab.
Wow.
Plain and simple. And I would say for family members, if you have a family member that is a diabetic and they're having chest pain, shortness of breath, things of that nature, advocate for cath. I mean, sometimes insurance kind of gets in the way a little bit, but I'm all about being an advocate.
Yes, absolutely. Yes, you are.
And you have to, you gotta speak up.
Yes, absolutely.
You gotta speak up.
You do.
So, other things that predispose us to heart disease: smoking. Smoking. And smoking kind of was getting out of, people were like, oh, you smoke, oh, you shouldn't be smoking. It's kind of coming back.
Okay.
Okay. Also, with the e-cigarettes, they made it very in style to have an e-cigarette, which has tobacco in it. I mean, it's the same thing almost as smoking a cigarette.
Oh, wow.
And the other thing that I am seeing these younger people do that drives me crazy are the hookahs.
Yeah, hookah is very popular. It's very trendy.
Popular.
It's a cool thing to do.
Yes.
Oh, gosh.
So smoking one hookah session is almost like smoking a pack of cigarettes.
Wait a minute. Say that one more time.
So one hookah session.
One.
Is almost like smoking a whole pack of cigarettes. And it's not filtered. So cigarettes have filters on them.
Right.
There's no filter.
In a hookah.
No.
All right.
Straight tobacco.
Okay, folks, you heard it here.
Oh, yeah.
Seriously, you got to take this stuff seriously.
Absolutely.
Oh, wow.
Absolutely.
Okay.
So another thing, too, being sedentary, which the pandemic unfortunately has caused a lot of us to be sedentary because we're in the house. We're not, working out like we should be.
Right.
And that can raise your, risk of heart if you have some other stuff going on too.
Okay.
So with sedentary comes obesity. So
that's true, because we're sitting at our at our desk and we're just keying away. We're working remotely and not moving at all.
Yes.
But our fingers
right
on the keyboard.
Yeah, so that's definitely something, and excessive alcohol abuse.
That alcohol raised up too during COVID-19.
Yes, it did. Flying off the shelves. So there are some things definitely that raise our risk for cardiovascular disease, and the goal is to minimize your risk as much as possible.
Okay.
That's the absolute goal.
Okay.
And I know you were talking about race.
Yeah.
So African Americans.
Yes. Here we are.
So our numbers are actually worse than other ethnic groups.
Wow.
As far as development of heart disease and potential issues that come with that.
Wow.
And here's something else. African American women have some of the highest risks of heart disease out of everybody.
Wow.
Everybody. So when you look at the numbers, so there's about, about almost 700,000 people die from heart attacks or heart disease every year.
God, 700,000.
700,000.
It's a lot of lives. Oh, my goodness.
Lot. And 800,000 people can have a heart attack. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that they, pass away or anything, but 800,000 people per year have heart attacks.
My goodness.
So you see how cardiovascular disease is really the number one killer of Americans in the United States.
Wow.
That number one.
That's the number one killer?
Over COVID, over
cancer, all the other things.
And here's my thing when it comes to women, and specifically African American women. Mm-hmm. A lot of times we're not, if you look at the ads for different, things like taking care of your heart, working out, blah, 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 you may not see somebody that looks like you.
That's true.
Or you don't have somebody, somebody educating you on the risk. Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of times African American women do not know how serious this is. I am all for the Komen race for the cure.
Yes.
The pink shirts.
Yes.
My mother is a breast cancer survivor.
Yeah.
But I want a race for heart disease for women.
Okay.
Because a lot of times women have no idea that you have a higher chance of dying from cardiac disease than breast cancer.
Wow.
And I'm saying much higher.
Wow.
Yes. So.
My goodness.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Information is power.
Oh, yeah.
Information is power.
And here's another stat, because I love statistics.
Yes, I know. I do too.
48%. Listen.
Okay.
48% of African Americans have some form of, African American women have some form of heart disease. That's 50% of us.
Say that one more time.
48%.
Did you all hear that?
48% of African American women have some form of heart disease. It could be blocked arteries. It could be hypertension. It could be that you had a heart attack. 50%. Wow. 50%. but we don't get the message out there.
Oh my
and that's one of
God.
the biggest problems. I think a lot of times people, we don't do a good job as providers, practitioners, physicians,
Okay.
of explaining the risk. We usually wait till you come in with a blood pressure of 230 over something and say, well, you could have a heart attack. But why not start the education earlier than that?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
So I
So
am
that people will know.
huge proponent of just educating the public about the risks that are out there.
Yeah. I mean, these stats, I had no clue. I had no clue, no nothing. And I'm sure many of our audience members and people that are listening in and watching had no clue that these numbers were that severe when it came. You hear about those other conditions and diseases, but oftentimes you have no clue how impactful the heart really is.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Oh, my God. Okay.
Absolutely.
Wow.
I know that you asked me about healthcare disparities or socioeconomic status.
Yeah.
Huge issue. It's a well-known issue. It's a well-known issue with minorities. And here's part of the problem and why, depending on your socioeconomic status, kind of... not that it'll predict outcomes when it comes to cardiac disease, but it makes a huge difference.
Okay.
If you think about some of the communities, poor communities, they don't have access to certain things.
Right.
Think about some of the areas, even here in St. Louis, that there's no clinic.
No.
There's no doctor on the corner. They have all moved their practices in the county. You can't get there because you got to get on 10 buses to get there.
That's true.
You can't afford an Uber to get there.
No.
They don't have transportation services set up for these folks. And they kind of fall by the wayside.
Wow.
Another thing, too, we are not reaching that community well enough as far as education is concerned. You can put up a couple of posters somewhere and say, know your risk, but the person has to hear you say it and talk to them in a way that they'll understand.
Yeah.
That's a big problem.
Wow.
Grocery store access.
Yes.
Huge.
Yep. Yeah.
There are a lot of corner stores that sell some of the worst food, and you don't even want to eat it. Half of it is old. It's canned, it's frozen, it's not fresh. There are no lean meats anywhere. So now you don't have access to healthy foods. So I tell my congestive heart failure patients, well, you should only eat 2,000 milligrams of salt per day.
Right.
But you live in the inner city. There's no grocery store.
Nope.
You're going to the corner store.
Yeah.
And all they have is canned foods.
Yeah.
Which is full of salt.
That's true. Yeah.
So it's like either I eat to survive or I don't eat and die. I don't have access to healthy food. That's a huge problem. Now, one thing that St. Louis is doing that I love, I love the Metro food bus. Yeah. Have you ever seen that?
No, I don't think I've seen that.
Yes.
Okay, tell us more.
This is, I think it's STL Metro Food Bus. I'm probably messing the name up.
Okay, that's okay.
Anyway, it's a converted bi-state bus that goes to different parts of the underserved areas, and it's a full bi-state bus of not free. It costs.
Okay,
but you can use supplements and government supplements and things to buy.
Wonderful.
But it's fresh fruit.
Oh, wow.
It's fresh vegetables. It is lean meats, and they will set up in different areas that don't have grocery stores.
Wow!
But what happened during COVID? They kind of had to slow it down. So now
it's not okay.
Yeah,
but audience members, please make sure you look into that though. Seriously, if you're a person watching or you know someone that has limited resources or limited transportation to get around, make sure that, hey, Google is your best friend. So make sure you're Googling, trying to find this information and find out when they'll be, in your neighborhood and in your area. No, that's good information. Absolutely.
It's great. And that is something that I love. And some of the neighborhoods are getting more grocery stores now.
Slowly.
Yeah.
Slowly. Yeah.
There's something else that happens too in lower socioeconomic, sometimes minority groups is the distrust of the healthcare system.
That part. Talk about that. Talk about that. That's good.
We have a history of not being treated right.
Yeah.
In healthcare in some aspects.
That's true.
experimental things without consent, and it's a lot. Everybody knows the history of certain studies that they have done without consent, and things of that nature, which creates distrust. So this person may not trust what you're telling them. So if I say, you got to get on the treadmill, or you need to start walking, or you need to take your blood pressure medicine,
right?
They may not trust it. But I will say, what makes a huge difference is having a provider, if you can, because we are not represented that much. I will speak for myself, African Americans in healthcare, doctors, nurse practitioners. My patients trust me. Yeah. Because they know I'm coming from a place of love. Yes. I'm not coming to throw pills at you and not explain why you need these pills and not telling you what you need to do and just chastising you. I think it's all in how you speak to your patients. Yeah. So if you speak to your patient and treat them like children, they're not going to do what you want them to do or pick up those healthy habits. So you have to have a very cohesive relationship with your patients, and they have to trust you. If they trust you and they know that you have their best interest at hand, they will pick up those habits, but they got to trust you first. That's good. And we'll get into COVID and distrust and all of that. So it's coming up again. But,
wow. Yeah. But no, for all of those individuals that are even enrolled in school right now you can tell, she's a professional, a teacher, right? Just the nuggets that she's dropping right now. But seriously, that is really, really important. Yeah. Healthcare field is no joke. You just can't get into it because of the finances, financial benefit, but you really have to be passionate about it. Absolutely. And understand that it is absolutely no joke. But the biggest thing is, like you said, building that rapport and that trust part. That I actually care about you as a human because somebody else cares about you. Your family cares about you. Someone loves you. Someone needs you. You're important to this world. Right. You're important to the community. Absolutely. So that's true. Absolutely. That's true. Wow. Absolutely. Wow. Oh, wow. So let's talk a little bit more about blood pressure. Okay. It seems like, I don't know, maybe the last 5 or 6 years. I remember when I was a social worker and I was out doing assessments of clients, and it just seems like every other person, and I did social work for like 4 or 5 years, a century ago. But anyway, I remember it seemed like every other person was diagnosed with high blood pressure. And I would even say now, I mean, we've got, generation, you've got your traditionalists, you got your baby boomers, you got your Xers, you got your millennials and zennials. I would say that, and we're a part of X generation. My goodness, there's so many people that we know personally who are popping up with high blood pressure. Yes. So tell us more about high blood pressure. How do people normally get diagnosed? Are you noticing a trend, going on with blood pressure? Kind of break some of that down for us.
So basically, high blood pressure, in layman's terms, the pressures in the arteries is too high. Okay. So you have a venous and arterial system. It's too much pressure. Okay. It's too high. So what we like blood pressures to be, and my favorite number. Okay. Favorite number. Listen up. is 120/70 or below. Okay. One more time. 120 or over 70 or below that. Okay. They have changed the guidelines over the years, multiple times. And since I've been an MP, it's changed 2 times. They are considering stage 1 hypertension if your blood pressure is greater than 130/80. Oh. Which sounds great. Like, that sounds like a great blood pressure. Yeah, it does. They are considering that stage 1 hypertension. Now, here's the thing. High blood pressure, incidental finding of you went into the doctor's office and your blood pressure was high when you went in there. We're not going to say you're hypertensive at that point, because you could have been rushing, trying to get in there. You could have gotten stuck in traffic, your nerves. Some people have something called white coat hypertension. Okay. If they see a white lab coat, blood pressure automatically goes up. Yes. It's called white coat hypertension. Wow. So sometimes when I see patients, I don't even have my white jacket on to make it more, so they don't get nervous. Okay. So, anything 130/80. So what we have to do is watch the blood pressure over time to determine if you truly have high blood pressure. Okay. Now, what we sometimes will do is have you pick up a blood pressure monitor at Walgreens or Walmart and check it at home. Oh, yeah. Write the numbers down and then come back to us in a week. Okay. Now, if you roll through my door and your blood pressure is 180 over something, 102, 110, you have high blood pressure.
Okay.
I don't need any further. I'm probably going to prescribe you something.
Okay.
Because that's extremely elevated at that point.
Oh, wow.
So, but remember, blood pressure is affected by all kind of things. So if you're in a very stressful situation, that will raise your blood pressure up.
Okay.
I mean, like sky high sometimes. We just want to see it start to trend back down to what your normal range is.
Okay, your normal range.
Yeah.
Would everybody's normal range be different?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
I mean, everybody, some people have blood pressures in the 80s, and that's normal for them. Like 88 over 46.
Okay, and that's not too low.
No, not for them.
okay.
If they don't have any symptoms at the time, that might be their norm. What we would typically do is try to see what kind of medications they're on, because maybe we need to decrease some of, it might be too good. And there's another thing too, which I don't think a lot of people know. Patients that are, advanced age, we don't like their blood pressure to be really low. We may let them ride with a higher blood pressure, because lower blood pressure in that age group, like 70s and above, can actually do more damage.
Wow.
Yeah. So we'll sometimes you'll see us start to take some of the meds away.
Okay.
Because it'll be too low.
Too low.
We don't want them too low.
Okay.
Because they may start to have some dizziness, some nausea, vomiting, blurred vision, symptoms of low blood pressure.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So you asked me about diagnosis. So here's a true diagnosis for when people are diagnosed with high blood pressure. First of all, you typically don't have any symptoms. What we used to say in healthcare, sometimes a stroke is the first sign of high blood pressure.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
A stroke? Wow. It's the first sign.
Because a lot of times your body is getting accustomed, to functioning with very high blood pressure. It's going to do everything it can to keep it, to function with you walking around with sky high blood pressure.
Whoa.
Yeah. I mean, your body is compensating. And at some point, it's too high, and unfortunately, people will have strokes.
Okay.
Or even heart attacks.
Wow.
From high blood pressure. So, we used to say the first sign of high blood pressure, that's an old, medical thing, is a stroke.
Is a stroke.
Yes. Wow. A lot of people find high blood pressure from just an incidental finding. Like they go to have a physical for work, or they come into the office and now you got high blood pressure.
My goodness.
So usually there's no symptoms. Now, sometimes you will have people complain of a headache. Okay. Sometimes they'll complain of ringing in their ears, things of that nature, and then we check the blood pressure and it's like sky high. Okay. But it's really is a crisis at this point with elevated blood pressure, because most people don't know their blood pressure
is elevated.
They don't know it. They don't know it at all. Wow. I mean, you think about how many people never check their blood pressure. I mean, never.
Yeah, that's true.
If you go to the doctor, you get it checked. Yeah. But if you don't, you have no idea what your blood pressure is. Wow. So that's a huge issue. Okay. So if you didn't know, because I'm on my woman thing.
Okay. No. Yes. Bring us more.
Statistics.
Yes.
47% of black women have high blood pressure. Wow. 47.
47.
So that's 50% cardiovascular disease, 50% high blood pressure. So, and a lot of that has to do with heredity. Okay. It also has to do with us being primary, I don't want to say primary caregivers, but I'm going to say we take on a lot.
Yes, we do.
We take on everybody's stuff.
Yes, we do.
We keep pushing.
Right here on our shoulders.
We don't take breaks. It's like, I got to get all this done. I got to do this. I got to do this. I got to run here. I got to
pick up the kids. I got to do the husband. I got to do this. I got to do that. I got to pick up the girlfriend. I got to pick up everything.
Right. You got to do everything. And we're basically living in a constant level, just stress level all the time.
Oh my God.
So that can actually cause high blood pressure too. It's just being extremely stressful for a long period of time. Wow. And we'll talk more about stress because that's a big one.
Yeah, we're going to talk. Yeah, for sure.
Now, risk factors. The older you get, the higher the chance of you developing high blood pressure. That's just a known fact. Okay. Family history of high blood pressure. For sure. Being African American.
That's just a big
It's
risk.
just a big risk.
Did y'all hear that? That's just a big risk.
And that's
okay.
a risk that you cannot change. You can't change your DNA.
My goodness.
So, it's just there. Sedentary lifestyle, for sure.
Okay.
Obesity. Alcohol, smoking, all the things people love.
Oh, these recreational things we like to do, huh?
But it definitely sets you up for high blood pressure.
Wow. Okay.
And some of the complications, which people don't realize, we always think stroke.
Yes,
which is a huge complication of high blood pressure. I mean, that's the one that's most known.
Right.
But what a lot of people don't know, heart attack.
Wow.
Having a heart attack due to high blood pressure, that is a huge possibility.
Oh, my God.
And the reason why, a lot of times when people have high blood pressure, they have a co-existing illness happening too, which is called, I'm not saying a lot. I don't want to say a lot, but some people.
Okay.
They may have what's called coronary artery disease.
Okay.
So where they start to develop blockages.
Okay, so that's where they're a blockage in the heart. Okay.
Now, it doesn't mean that it's a complete blockage, but there's some type of plaque building in the arteries. And sometimes hypertension and that go hand in hand. And the more elevated your blood pressure is, the harder your heart has to work.
Oh.
Which can also cause something called what we call hypertensive heart disease.
Yes.
And it actually causes the heart, that left ventricle. You remember I said when people get older, that left ventricle gets weak? Guess what happens in high blood pressure? Gets too muscular, too big.
Whoa.
Yes. Because if you think about what your heart is doing, that left side is pumping blood throughout your entire systemic circulation and coming back around, right, to your lungs.
Yes.
If my blood pressure is constantly 200 over 100, do you know how hard it is for my heart to pump that blood out through my system? So guess what happens? That side of my heart muscle gets too big.
Oh, wow.
Now it has a hard time receiving blood instead of pumping it out.
Wow.
Yes.
Oh, my God.
Yes. Yes. So definitely.
This is scary.
But there's ways that we can limit our risk, though. So
which we're going to talk about.
Yeah. So definitely heart attack, stroke, kidney disease.
That's another one. That's a big one. That's a big one.
Same kind of concept a little bit. With the pressures, it causes the kidneys to work harder.
Okay.
And the pressures in the kidneys, because you have arteries in your kidneys too.
Okay.
They're hypertensive. Just like the rest of your body.
Oh, wow.
So it's a lot harder for them to function, and people go into renal failure.
Yeah.
So this is something that I noticed, and you know, audience-wise, I want everybody to think, where do you see most of the dialysis centers? Where are they?
In our area.
That's right.
Yeah. And predominantly.
African American areas. Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely. That's where they're popping them up left and right.
Wow.
I mean, they are every few blocks. If you drive, you know, if people who are familiar with this area, you drive down certain streets. We have 3 of them in one row. It's like, do we really have that? But we do.
Oh my God.
It's that serious.
That's the scary part. That we actually have that many, and we need that many.
We need them.
We actually
They're not closing. They're not shutting down.
They're not.
No.
And unfortunately, it's probably like that across the nation. Honestly.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
If you probably take a look, just look outside your neighborhood.
That's right.
Depending on where you live.
That's right.
Wow.
So that's something really, really big. I know.
Oh my God. Okay.
I know. So.
Wow. So let's get back to the heart attack part.
Yeah.
So I've heard people actually talk about, you know, a heart attack can feel like an anxiety attack. Is that like a myth or something? You know, we have little stuff that we say that we pass down from generation to generation, okay?
Yes, we do.
Especially in the African American community. In other communities, I'm sure you guys have some things too that makes no sense that grandmother and grandfather said. And it's like, is that true? And you're grown now, like, is that true? Is that lie? So can it be that way where, you know, and what's the difference, or how do you know you're having a heart attack? Like, if it's not, break that down for us.
So It's different.
Okay. Okay.
And it is a myth.
I mean, seriously though, I'm sure audience members, you all know, you've heard somebody say
different.
that.
It's different.
Okay.
So sometimes, now here's the deal.
Okay.
I still want people to take it seriously though. I mean, if you're
Absolutely.
having chest pain and shortness of breath, it could be a whole anxiety attack.
Okay.
But don't just, sit there and say, well, I'm having anxiety.
Yeah.
And don't call like the doctor or call
Right.
911 because you never know
Right.
which one is which.
Yeah.
Now, heart attacks,
Mm-hmm.
we call them myocardial infarction, same thing.
Okay.
Just a fancy term.
Okay. Fancy.
They are very common.
Oh.
About 800,000 people will have a heart attack every year.
Gosh.
That's a lot.
And that's just everybody. Just
Yeah.
800,000. Think about that.
800,000. That's almost 1 million people.
A year, you guys.
And
a
the numbers,
year.
I'm sure they keep going up. I mean, I'm just being honest.
Yeah.
The numbers they're not going to go
Steady
down.
climbing.
Yeah, because here in America, it's a lot of stuff that we do. It's just not good, and we'll talk about that.
Okay.
Because we'll get into stress and work-life balance.
Yes,
and
we are.
So there's some things that we're doing that is
Yes.
contributing to this problem.
Oh my God.
So basically, heart attacks are caused by coronary artery disease. So I was talking about how you have blockages in your arteries, and what actually happens, you can have that blockage in your artery for a while.
Okay.
And not have any symptoms at all.
Wow.
It's when that blockage starts to get too big and it's actually cutting off oxygen rich blood flow
Okay.
to the muscle. So when people have like true blue heart attacks, usually it could be almost a complete blockage of the artery. And what happens if you think about this, and when we talk about strokes, it's almost like the same kind of mechanism with these arteries. So if you think about how your blood has to go through the arteries of the heart, right? And let's say you have a 100% blockage in one of those arteries.
Yes.
No blood flow can get past that blockage, right?
Yeah, because 100%. Yeah.
Yeah, or even if it's 70 or 80%.
Oh, well,
because some people have 70, 80% blockages. Usually people start to have symptoms about 70%. They may start to have some chest pain and things like that. But when you're 90 and 100, I mean, like, it is obvious.
Yes.
Something's going on. You think about that blood flow can't get past that, right? So what's going to happen to the muscle that's surrounding that artery? So if you have a muscle that's kind of surrounding one of these arteries in your heart and it becomes blocked, the muscle is not getting any oxygen.
Right.
So the muscle starts to die.
Oh, wow.
That's pretty much what happens. So the quicker that somebody can recognize that they're having symptoms and we can get them to the hospital and go in and try to open up those arteries where we can put a stent in or we could, kind of clean that artery out.
Okay.
The less damage it will do.
Okay.
Yes, we're going to get into strokes because it's something like that too.
Yes.
And they may not have, long-lasting effects of that.
Okay.
The problem is if we get in there too late. Now, sometimes when they're block, and especially depending on where the blockage occurs, there's a on the left side of your heart. I keep talking about the left. The right is very important.
Okay.
But remember, the left side is very important for pumping blood throughout your whole circulation, right?
Right.
So there is an artery basically called the left main. Very big artery. Not big. They're small, but just as far as like how the blood flows through the heart. Sometimes, if people get, if you get like 100% blockage in that left main, all of the blood flow to the left side of the heart ceases. And if you've ever heard the term widowmaker,
yes,
that is the widowmaker.
Oh, that's the widowmaker.
Yes.
Oh my God.
Because it's so the blockage is so high up that none of the left side cannot get any blood.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's serious.
Yeah,
it's serious
definitely
out
serious.
here.
Yeah.
As far as symptoms are concerned, not everybody has chest pain. I know we tell everybody that, like, you're going to have chest pain and it's blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, you hear that all the time.
Then you're going to have left side arm pain. No. Everybody does not have those symptoms. Chest pain is definitely an issue. Yeah, it's a symptom. But not everybody has that. You may have shortness of breath. And usually people, this is what happens. You may start to notice shortness of breath with exertion. So when you were trying to climb up the steps and all of a sudden you're like, That's not normal, and that's not necessarily deconditioning.
Okay.
I mean, that's if you've been able to get up the steps
With no problems.
with no problems, and all of a sudden you run up the steps and you can hardly breathe, we need to get that checked out.
Okay.
Also, there's some other symptoms. Sometimes people have back pain, like upper back pain, upper back pain, scapular pain, like pain right up here. Left arm pain, yes, it does happen.
Right,
it's called referred pain.
Okay.
But not everybody has that. GERD symptoms. Acid reflux.
Acid reflux?
Yeah.
Wow.
Acid reflux.
Be careful.
Yeah. So
be aware.
Yeah. So acid reflux symptoms, and I'm gonna make it even more specific. But anytime you're having like severe anything, you've got to get it checked out.
Yeah.
Let's say you start having like severe acid reflux type symptoms after exertion.
Ooh, okay.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
Like it's usually tied with something.
Mm-hmm.
It's not tied from those hot wings you just ate. Because
those hot wings was good. Even though I shouldn't have ate them.
Right. It's usually tied to something.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But we get very concerned with the chest pain with exertion, chest pain without exertion. I mean, just sitting there and all of a sudden you start to have like this heavy feeling in your chest. Ooh. Some people say it feels like impending doom. Like they feel like they're going to die.
Oh,
and anytime people feel those type of symptoms, please call 911. Don't worry about calling your doctor because it's going to take too long for them to call you back. Don't call through the exchange. Please call 911. Don't
call your friend or your partner or whoever or somebody. Call 911. Call them later afterwards. I'm on my way to the hospital.
Absolutely.
Ask advice for no. Just go.
Yes. Call 911.
Oh my God.
Because the quicker we can get you in, and get you to that cath lab, we can try to open that artery up, and save your life. If you sit there and let that fester on, muscle is time. Same thing with the brain. Brain is time too. Wow. So the longer that's a blockage there, the more muscle dies.
Say that again.
The longest the blockage is there, the more of the muscle dies. So, and sometimes people can have a severe heart attack and completely survive. It happens all the time.
Yes.
But then that muscle is so damaged that they go into congestive heart failure. So that happens too.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I know.
We have to pay attention to our bodies. We start feeling something, and I know I don't, want somebody that's always going calling a doctor every little bitty thing, but we've got to pay attention.
We have to.
Some stuff is just not normal. It's not normal. You need to go and get checked out.
Absolutely.
Point blank, period.
I always say play it safe and call 911. Even if you feel like you're like stupid for doing it, you never know.
Yeah, right.
So don't say, I'm not going to call them because I know this isn't a heart attack. You have no idea. So
let the paramedics, when they get there, determine
please
if it's them hot wings or whatever.
Could have been the hot wings, or you just got finished arguing with somebody.
And they pissed you off. And
now you got chest pain. But call 911. No matter. So risk factors.
Okay.
I'm going to hit you with the obvious. Well, I'm not going to say obvious, but it's true. African American.
Yeah.
There again. Age, high cholesterol, high blood pressure, sedentary lifestyle, obvious, smoking, obvious, and excessive alcohol abuse, obvious.
Wow. All right. We got some decisions to make, y'all. Some lifestyle changes.
So this is what we hear a lot when it comes to alcohol. People will say, I don't drink during the week. I only drink 5 drinks on Saturday.
Just on Saturday.
Just on Saturday.
We ain't said Friday. We ain't said Thursday.
No, I have 5 to 6 drinks. That is called binge drinking. So
say it again.
That is binge drinking.
For the folks in the back that didn't hear you.
Binge drinking.
Okay, 5 drinks on Saturday. It's called what?
Binge drinking.
Thank you.
And that's still a problem. That's still excessive alcohol use.
Wow.
Now they do say that you can have 2 drinks per day
Okay.
It hasn't changed.
It hasn't changed yet.
That's for women. You can have a couple of glasses of wine.
What is a glass of red wine? Is what you hear? I have one glass of red
right.
wine.
You can have it, but when you start getting up there, you gotta kind of watch that.
5 or 6.
Yes, could be a problem. But but it does raise your risk of cardiovascular disease.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
We've got some lifestyle changes to make.
Yeah, and they're hard. We're going to talk about them, but I can sit up here all day and tell my patients and tell you all exactly what to do. I know this is what you need to do. You got to get on a treadmill. 3 times a week, you got to work hour every time you work out. You got to eat this. You got to eat that. I have to live that too, and I fall off the wagon just like anybody else.
All the time. I do too.
Any things in moderation, which we'll talk about that.
Okay, that's good.
Moderation is the key.
That's good.
Excessive is the problem.
Say it again.
Moderation is the key. Excessive is the problem.
Okay.
So
remember that. So let's talk about stress now. Let's get to that. How this. So I've even heard people say. I probably even said it myself. Again, here we go. I don't know if these myths, these things we didn't pass down from generation to generation, where when they're under such stress that they can actually feel. And I don't know if it's with the cortisol being released to their abdominal area.
Yeah, for sure.
Is that actually truth, or that's just a myth? Or can people actually feel that being released throughout their body?
So when I get extremely stressed out, I have those same symptoms too.
Okay, because I was like, I thought it was just
me. Now, the thing about stress and why it's so bad. So on top of your kidney sit 2 glands called the adrenal glands.
Okay, the adrenal glands.
Adrenal glands. They are actually responsible for releasing epinephrine and cortisol, things of that nature. So, in epinephrine, I'm going to tell you what adrenaline.
Okay, that's what. Okay. Mm-hmm.
So, what happens when we are very stressed out? Our adrenal glands will start to release hormones, cortisol, adrenaline, the whole bit. Mm-hmm. It's something that we call the fight or flight response.
Yes, that you hear about in therapy all the time, okay?
So basically the fight or flight response is I always think, in my mind, I've always thought, like even in nursing school, if somebody is behind you, like walking real fast behind you while you're trying to get to the car, it's either like, I'm going to fight them.
Right. I'm taking off running.
I'm going to run. The problem with stress, you are in a constant fight or flight response.
Oh,
so it's almost like you're fighting all the time. Like because it's just so many hormones are being released. And with that, cortisol, is a bad one.
Yes,
because in stressful situations, we tend to release a ton of cortisol. So and this is what and I've seen and looked at about cortisol. Excessive cortisol release sometimes, and especially in women, will start to be in your gut.
Oh, so break down cortisol for us a little bit.
So cortisol is one of the stress hormones that we release from the adrenal glands.
Okay.
When we get very stressful and it's being at a high level of stress for all time, and especially in diabetics, we're going to talk about that in a second with cortisol.
It's me.
Because I know you want to ask me about that.
Yeah.
What sometimes we see is that women will start to get excessive abdominal fat.
Wait, okay. We talk about it all the time.
Because of the amount of cortisol that's being released all the time.
Wow.
Now, as far as diabetics are concerned.
Yes, it's me.
So, diabetics are in an immunocompromised state.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yes, we are. Yeah.
Diabetics are, when you all release hormones like that, it does more damage.
Yeah.
Because it's going to do what? When you're very stressed out, what's the first thing you notice?
My blood sugar
goes sky high.
The chain. They are sky high.
And that's just what happens because when you go into a fight or flight response, your body is going to react totally different from somebody who's not a diabetic.
Yeah.
So that's why it's extremely important.
I know. I'm getting spanked right now, honestly, y'all.
Extremely important to keep your stress level down as possible. All right, because here's the other thing about stress, and now that we're in a pandemic, stress can actually decrease your immune response. If you think about, if you've ever been super stressed before, first thing happens, you sick.
Yes.
Sick as a dog.
Yes.
Like out on the couch, laid out for 7 days.
Yes.
Because your immune system does not work well with high levels of stress.
Wow. Yep.
Diabetics.
Yes.
If you're already in an immunocompromised state, and immunocompromised just basically means your body doesn't fight off, illnesses as fast as some other people.
Right.
You couple that with especially in a pandemic too. Mm-hmm. So if you're already in an immunocompromised state and then you're under stress, that makes you even more immunocompromised. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So those two, everybody has to work on it. I'm not just, I'm not singling out diabetics. But since I'm speaking to does everybody,
me,
okay, diabetics,
yes,
and all my diabetics out there.
Shout out to all my diabetics. I love y'all. We getting our spanking right now. We getting our consultation, but we getting spanking right now.
Yeah, I mean, you're definitely decreasing your immune response.
Yeah.
So the key with diabetes, even though we're talking about the heart,
yes,
and
which is related.
We're on this because you just had a profound blessing in your diabetes.
Yes, I did.
But here's the deal: you got to take care of yourself.
Yeah,
you got to get those blood sugars down. Mm-hmm. Got to get them down. You got to get your A1C down because that's how you combat all of the complications that go with diabetes.
Yeah.
That's it. That's plain. That's in a nutshell. Mm-hmm. That blood sugar is so important that's what has to stay down.
Yeah.
So.
That's true.
So I'm not going to get into diabetes.
That's all right.
We'll stay on.
That's all right. I just got my... Get your blood sugars down, guys. Get your blood sugars down.
So sometimes, when people have like stress or anxiety, they, some people would have full-blown panic attacks.
That's true.
Or anxiety attacks where they get very short of breath. Mm-hmm. They may complain of chest pain. Mm-hmm. Blood pressure shoot up. I know most of us, when we get very stressed out, we may start to have problems with our stomach. Yeah. We may have to go to the restroom often with loose stools.
Yes.
You may get nauseated, vomiting, very irritable. Yeah. If you notice, I can always tell when I'm under a ton of stress because I am extremely irritable and I can feel it too. You can almost feel it in your shoulders.
Yeah, actually here. Or you're short with people. Like
very short. Very
short temper. Just.
Also, sleeping. If you are very stressed out, you are not sleeping. And you're waking up multiple times throughout the night. Multiple times. You're up thinking about everything you got to do at work. The next day, that email that somebody made you mad.
You hear me and you like this.
Arguing with your partner. I mean, like,
yes.
You up, everybody.
The kids made you mad.
You the one mad at everybody. You the only one up, everybody sleep.
Exactly.
That's why you got to take care of yourself.
Like, wait a minute.
You definitely got to take care of yourself. And some people are in a ton of stress and have no symptoms, which those are my scary folks.
Oh.
I mean, they make me a little nervous.
Yes.
Because they're at a high level of stress and have no symptoms. And they have no idea that they're extremely stressed out.
Oh, my goodness.
Catches up to them.
Okay. That's a scary one. Yeah.
So, some of the complications of being stressed, I mean, we all deal with stress. It's not uncommon. It's stress. Sometimes stress is actually good. Mm-hmm. If you have an interview that you have to go to and it's a little bit of stress, that may make you perform better.
That's true.
You know what I'm saying? But being at a stressful level like every day, all day is a problem. Yeah. So high blood pressure, stress. Yes. High cholesterol, stress. Sometimes. But there's some other stuff going on with that. Decreased immune response, which is really important while we're in a pandemic. So you want to take care of yourself the best way that you can because you want to be able to fight anything if it came across,
Right.
So.
Yeah, definitely.
So how do we reduce stress? This is the magic key that everybody knows how to reduce it, but we never do it.
Uh-oh.
So, number one is try to get at least 6 to 8 hours of sleep per night. Okay. That sounds great.
It does.
In theory.
It does.
If you can get 6, that's a blessing.
You're doing good.
You're doing good. If you can get 8, I don't even know how you get 8 hours of sleep.
Right. Tell me your secret.
If you get them, that's a wonderful thing. Another thing, make time to exercise.
Yes.
Not stress. Now I'm on stress. Exercise actually combats cortisol release.
Oh.
Yeah. So when that cortisol is up there and you can feel it in your gut, it may be time to go get on a treadmill and push that cortisol back where it's supposed to go.
Ah,
So,
okay.
because and two, working out actually helps you release endorphins that make you feel wonderful. It's
They
like,
do, actually.
when you get done, you're like, I just worked out.
Yes.
I feel great.
Yes.
And that also combats stress too.
Oh, wow.
Nah, I know you're gonna hate this, but
It's okay.
reduction of caffeine intake.
No!
Yes. Yes.
Everybody knows I love coffee.
Yes.
Okay. And if you are a coffee
And
person,
yes.
please send me all the coffee.
So, my sister friend here, I went without drinking coffee for months.
Yes. And
She made me
blamed
a
it on
pot
me.
of coffee, and I have not stopped drinking it since. And that was about 8 months
That
ago.
was right. Yeah, I love coffee, and I can make some coffee.
She
Okay.
can definitely make some coffee.
Okay.
But caffeine,
Uh-oh.
because caffeine also kind of works with those hormones.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
also with the caffeine, too, it causes you not to be able to sleep well, especially if you're drinking it close to bedtime.
That's true.
Probably not gonna sleep all that great.
Okay.
Here's a big one that I will say women don't do enough.
Okay.
Learn how to say no.
I knew you was gonna say that.
Learn
I knew you was gonna say
how
that.
to say no.
No is your friend.
No is your friend.
And no is a complete sentence.
No is a complete sentence. It can be no without explanation.
Yes.
You don't have to explain why you're saying no.
Mm-mm.
You know why you're saying no.
Yeah.
Probably because you're exhausted. You
Yes.
don't feel good. You want to lay down on the couch and take a nap.
Mm-hmm.
Learn how to say no. People and just us being, because the United States, we're all about working,
Go. The grind.
The
and you got
grind,
to,
and yeah, because that's how you
you're
show
missing the
that
opportunity if you
Right.
don't. And it's like, oh my
and
God.
you're being pulled in so many different directions.
Mhm.
So it may just be the simple thing of saying, no, I can't do that. I cannot take you there. I cannot show up to that.
Yes.
Because you know your body.
That's
and your body is always going to tell you when you need to rest. It never fails. It's going to tell you need to sit down, because in your mind you say, I need to sit down.
Just as simple, right?
I should sit down. I should really sit down.
I should really take a nap.
I should take a nap.
And then you do 5 more
Right.
things.
Like, I'll take a
and
nap
the nap
later,
is over.
and you never go and
Never
take
go
a
to
nap.
nap. Right.
So learn how to say no. There's a hard word, but I mean, sometimes it's enough just to protect your peace.
Yes.
And sometimes you got to protect that peace, because that one extra thing that you did might throw you all the way over the edge.
That's true.
So learning how to say no. Also, meditation.
Yes.
Very good. Meditation, prayer.
Yes.
Sitting, being quiet. Set your timer on your phone for 15 minutes and just sit there.
Say the be quiet part again.
Be
Because see, people will sit
quiet.
there talking about, oh, I meditate now.
Yeah.
And then mine.
Oh, yeah. And that's, and meditation is hard, especially if you're new to it, because
Yes.
your mind tends to go crazy.
Go.
Yeah, because it's telling you everything you should be doing right now instead of
Instead of
meditating.
sitting there still, right.
So,
Listening to God is like, we ain't got time, God. You know what I
hear
mean?
this right now. I got 5,000 things to do.
Right.
I'll come back later.
Right.
But meditating, being quiet, even if you can't do 15 minutes, do 5 minutes.
That's good.
That's enough to kind of reset your brain. You have to take breaks, because we are going constantly.
Yes, we are.
And a lot of us don't even sleep well, so we're not even getting that break during sleep.
No, that's
so
true.
it may just be sitting there quiet. Turn the TV off. Turn the phone off. Tell everybody, leave me alone.
Right. 5 minutes.
Close the door. Meditate. If you're a prayer, pray and meditate. Do it all.
Yes.
Get your balance back.
That's good. Yeah.
That's how you balance yourself. And for my folks that are bath lovers.
Yes. Shout out to everybody.
A bath lover.
Yes, those bath bombs. Dr. Teals is your friend.
Yes.
Essential oils. I suggest
a nice warm bath. A nice warm bath is that is a rejuvenating thing.
Yes.
It is nothing more precious than a bath. I've always thought that, like a hot bath, quiet.
Yes. Quiet.
That
is your 5 minutes. You can't get away from the family. You can't get away, turn off the phone. I'm going to go take a bath. I'll be back. Give me 5 minutes.
You might have
10
to,
minutes,
if you're a candle person, light some candles, put some flowers in the tub. If you're that type of person, a bath bomb.
Yes.
Epsom salt, Dr. Teals.
Dr. Teals is my
your essential oils.
Yes.
It's a
And for my fellas out there that's kind of like, okay, what do you mean baths? Listen, take a hot shower.
Yeah.
Stay in the shower longer than what you normally would and let the water hit you.
Yeah.
Dr. Teal's has liquid version, so
Yes.
that's good for you
That's
too.
good.
Okay? You can also, you need to make sure you're relaxed as well. You got a lot on your shoulders
This
as
is
well,
true.
just like us females
We
do.
all have to take care of ourselves. And I mean, I think we've kind of gotten away from that because we're on a 24-hour news cycle. We have access to so much stuff now.
Oh my God.
I of course I'm a cell phone user. I love them.
Yes, we are.
But I'm on it too much.
Yeah, we're different.
Sometimes I kind of wonder, wish I could go back to like the old phone.
Where you have to pick up the phone and that. Look, some of these
go
people
back to a pager.
Oh, see, some of my what is these millennials and Zennials may not nothing about these pagers.
Nothing about a pager.
And the regular phones. They had home phone. What is that?
Right.
So antique.
But it was a simpler time.
Right. Yes, it was.
Yes, it was.
Yes, it was. So let's talk about strokes a little bit. And then we'll go on to the COVID. Okay. So, many of you all know, like I talked about before, my father, December 19th, my father experienced having 4 massive strokes in one. And he did have high blood pressure. That was a big, huge factor in his strokes. He's had other strokes before, but this last set was really, really severe. And by February 2020, he had transitioned. But, and I remember it completely took him down, especially that last set of strokes where he pretty much could not move. There was no mobility. Now, his cognition was there, interesting enough. He could hear, he knew what we were talking about, but he could not respond or say anything. Sometime during his rehabilitation, he was able to move his mouth and audiate sounds to let us know that he understood, but eventually that kind of dwindled down, and like I said, my dad did end up transitioning. So with strokes, can you discuss the different types of strokes? You hear people talk about strokes, and I know you talked about some of the the things, the high blood pressure, all of that.
Oh, yeah.
So talk about the different types of strokes and that type of thing.
Basically, a stroke it's basically a disruption of blood flow in the brain.
Okay.
So it could be caused by a clot. Because sometimes there are clots that release from. We have carotid arteries over on this side, big arteries on both sides of our neck.
Yeah, see that?
Some people
arteries on both sides of your neck.
Some people have plaque, just like you can develop plaque in your heart. Any artery in your body can get plaque.
Wow.
So the kidneys, the heart, the carotid arteries, they can all get plaque.
Wow.
So sometimes a piece of that plaque will break off.
Okay.
And travel up to the brain. Which, if you think about the heart, you know how when you have a blockage, all the surrounding tissue around that blockage starts to die.
That's right.
So it's kind of the same, totally different pathophysiologies, but same concept in layman's terms. So some people release a clot. So it could be a plaque, it could be a clot, or some people actually burst a whole vessel in their brain, and that's called a hemorrhagic stroke, where they actually they bleed. And if you think about your, what was I going to say? If you think about your brain, you have your skull bones. They don't move. So if blood starts to develop into your brain, there's nowhere for it to go.
Release. Oh my gosh. Okay.
So that's really bad too.
Yeah.
Now 80% of the strokes are caused by either a blocked artery or a vessel leaking or bursting. TIAs are what we call mini strokes.
Right. Okay.
So those are very important too. And I know sometimes people kind of bypass mini strokes.
Yeah.
But basically what happens in a mini stroke, that blockage I was telling you about with a full stroke, it stays there and the tissue starts to die. In mini strokes, there's a blockage, but it moves. Oh. So that's why people usually will recover in some hours. Because it hasn't caused that tissue to start to die.
Okay.
But the thing about TIAs, they're a warning sign that something is wrong.
Say that again.
TIAs or mini strokes are a warning sign that something is wrong. And if we don't correct whatever's wrong, you could have a full stroke. that's kind of leading up to that if we don't start making some lifestyle changes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, so here's the thing. If we have a family member that's starting to show signs of a stroke and we're present, like
Okay.
they may have facial droop. So a lot of times if you think somebody's having a stroke, ask them to smile.
Okay.
And if both sides of the smile doesn't, like one is drooping and one is up, then something's wrong.
Okay.
Also, they may have weakness on one side of their body. It could be the arm, it could be the leg, it could be a combination of both of them.
Okay.
They may start to drool.
Yes. Okay.
Swallowing difficulties.
Yeah.
Speech difficulties.
Yes.
Like the speech
Slurred
is very
speech.
garbled or slurred.
Yeah.
Anything like that, 911 has to be called.
Okay.
You cannot take that as oh, she's just sleepy or he's just sleepy. We're going to let him sleep it off. No.
Ooh.
No. Call 911 because we can get that person to what we call our special procedures lab where they can actually go in there and move that blockage.
Wow.
If we get them there quick enough, they can actually do something that's kind of similar to how they do with the heart and kind of open that artery up. Very similar in the brain. We can put a stent in, just like the heart.
Yeah.
And that will get that blood flow back moving. We can also give them a medication, which is a thrombolytic. And when we say thrombolytic, it can be anything that's going to bust a clot.
Okay.
They're called clot busters.
Oh, wow.
But only certain people can get it, and there's only a certain amount of time you can give it as well. So there's a time limitation on when this person starts to have symptoms and when they can have that medication. Also, if this person is having what we call a hemorrhagic stroke and it's actually bleeding, we cannot give them a clot buster because they're going to bleed to death.
Oh.
So there's a lot of criteria that's in place to try to get this stroke to stop.
Okay.
Sometimes we call them evolving strokes where they just go on and on and on and on. Like it's just, we can't stop them.
Yeah.
But sometimes we can. And the faster we can get that person in some type of healthcare, 911, the more of a chance that we have to stop that stroke.
Okay.
And hopefully prevent some of those disabilities that come along with, stroke.
Oh, wow.
So, strokes are very common. I hate to say that, but they're very common. Also, what we're seeing now, there's a lot of younger people having strokes.
Oh my goodness!
We used to think about people in their 70s and 80s.
Yeah,
60s.
the baby boomers are traditionalists, but
40-year-olds,
gosh,
35-year-olds, 38-year-olds.
You all hear that?
50-year-olds. You're seeing younger people having strokes.
My God.
Younger people are having strokes. Now the risk factors, same thing. African Americans.
Oh.
High blood pressure.
There we go.
Sedentary lifestyle, alcohol, excessive alcohol abuse, smoking. I mean, if people have noticed, it's all the same risk factors for everything.
For everything. Okay.
Yeah, it's all the same risk factors. I mean, very similar. Your family history.
Okay.
So if you have a family history of a first-degree relative that has had a stroke, that kind of puts you at risk a little bit too.
Okay.
So we definitely have to watch that.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have to watch that. The thing about high blood pressure that we didn't talk about, because you asked me about trends, and then we'll come back to this. We are seeing more younger people with high blood pressure, like kids.
Oh my God.
Like children, 12 and 13-year-olds, 14-year-olds that are hypertensive.
They're babies.
And a lot has to do with, they're not, if you think about kids now, they're not outside playing.
They're not.
They're playing the Xbox and things
true.
of that nature.
Right.
They are not eating the best.
No, they're not.
Because with convenience, we got
delivery of everybody. You name it, and they're at your front door.
That increases the risk because the food is not always as healthy.
Oh wow!
So and with the sedentary kids comes obesity. I remember doing a health fair with where we did blood pressure checks.
Yes,
and I actually had a young child that we would check. He just won his blood pressure check. He was about 11 years old. He was hypertensive.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
11?
Yeah. 11 years old. So it's just,
Okay. So parents, it's not just you, but it's your children as well that we have to really, really be, watch out for as far as lifestyle. We've got to make sure.
Absolutely.
Get in that backyard and run around in circles until you fall out.
Please.
We got snow on the ground here in St. Louis and wherever else you at, you might have snow. Y'all better go back to old school and snowball parties and fights.
People need to get back outside.
Get back outside in them backyards.
Outside. It's like, you guys should be outside.
Exactly. Let's get in them backyards if nothing else.
Mm-hmm.
So sis, so one last thing I kind of wanted to talk about COVID-19, of course. And pretty much I hear people asking a lot of questions about the two different types of testing. So I believe it's the PCR versus the antigen COVID-19 test. So can you talk about that a little bit for our audience members, just in case they're not familiar, understand what the difference is?
So basically, the PCR, it's a test that it's more specific than the antigen test.
Okay.
So it's got done the same way, pretty much.
Yeah, up your nostril. Oh my God.
Almost to your brain. The further we can get it up, the better the sample we're gonna get.
My God.
So
I hate them.
But the PCR is actually looking at the viral RNA, which is different from the antigen test. So when people so let's say people are like, I know I have the Omicron variant.
Okay.
The PCR test will say that.
Oh.
The antigen test just tells you if you're positive or negative. It doesn't tell you what
strain or variant, I guess.
It does not tell you the variant at all. And those PCR tests have to be sent to a lab. They are so behind now, like it's taking days to get the results back. Ooh. So you could potentially have it and be walking around and don't even have your results for 5 days.
Living your best life outside with everybody else. Wait a minute.
So, I mean, if you get one, that's great. If you can get access to one of those, that's great. But if you have been exposed or if you are having symptoms, get whatever test you can get at this point. Okay. It is so hard right now to get tested. If you look at some of the sites for like the urgent cares and things of that nature, or some of the county and city testing, you're a week out of getting tested. Yeah. So by the time you get your test, you have infected everybody.
Yes, you have.
I mean, because you can't even get into any place to get the test.
Wow.
Now, the antigen test, once again, it just shows that you are positive or either negative. And it's it's pretty accurate. I mean, it's pretty accurate. I always tell people, too, if they're having COVID symptoms and they test negative, we may have done it too early.
Oh.
And you need to come back in a couple of days and get it tested again. Okay. Because everybody doesn't come up positive as soon as they start having symptoms. It may take a few days for you to become positive.
Why? Is that why? Yeah, you hear people. Okay. Yeah. Gotcha. Okay.
That happens a lot, actually. And with COVID, everybody's symptoms are different.
Say that again.
Everybody's symptoms are different with COVID.
You lost taste and you didn't, but you got a fever and you got a cough.
Everybody doesn't have a fever. Everybody does not lose their taste. Everybody does not have coughing, congestion. If you get those are classic symptoms. Right. But everybody doesn't get that. And then you have a whole subset of people that are completely asymptomatic. They have no symptoms.
My goodness.
So, you're seeing a lot of that. And with this Omicron,
let's talk about that.
Variant, it's really different.
My goodness.
So the Omicron is actually more highly contagious. I mean, very. And the particles are smaller, meaning they can travel further. So they're lightweight, like an aerosol. So if you spray a can of hairspray and it goes shoo, same thing with COVID. Just
God,
in the air. So and all you gotta do is breathe it in. Now everybody can be exposed to COVID and not get it. There are some people who don't get it and they can be sitting right next to somebody with COVID. It's just it's such a weird thing how this happens. I mean, it's like some people have symptoms, some people don't. Some people can be in a house with a house full of COVID and not get COVID. Yeah. It's just this kind of crazy how that happens. So the thing is, though, like I said, if you're having symptoms or if you've been exposed to someone that tested positive, you need to get tested. Okay. You need to get tested. And people, too, if you have a positive test, please do not say, I'm ready to go out. I'm ready to go to a party. Right. I'm not ready to show up at church.
Thank you.
Go
to the grocery store. Go to work.
Go to work because you don't miss days of work. Please. please stay home. Help us out. Stay home. Right now in St. Louis, the hospitals it's so bad. There's so many COVID patients in the hospital right now. They are just overwhelmed.
Wow.
And most of the people in the hospital right now are the unvaccinated, which we'll get in just a second.
Okay, yeah.
Because that's very controversial too.
Right, you can go there
but,
too. Okay.
COVID actually severe cases of COVID and kind of, what your mom had. She had a severe case.
Yeah.
It actually begins to affect all of the organs in the body. So not just the lungs.
Okay.
It can affect the kidneys. It can affect the heart. It can affect the brain, what we call COVID brain, where people are forgetful.
Oh my God!
They're very forgetful. Not remembering stuff, and it can affect all your organs in your body. And I know there was a question about it being specific to the heart.
Yeah.
There's something called myocarditis, which is an inflammation of the heart muscle from COVID. So some people get myocarditis, and it's kind of, if we can treat it and get it under control, it'll do less damage. But if it rages on, it can also cause heart disease and heart failure.
Oh my God!
So there's a few things with that. Because this is a new virus.
Yes.
It's what we call a novel virus, meaning we've never, had this virus in our atmosphere. Our bodies do not have any antibodies to protect us.
Okay.
So what happens, you're exposed to it, and let's say, we'll get into vaccination in just a second, but unvaccinated, you're exposed to COVID. Once you're exposed to it, your body senses it as what we call an antigen. Okay. So an antigen is basically a foreign substance that our body recognizes, like, oh my goodness, this is not normal in my body. I don't know what to do about this.
Right.
So what your body will start to do is release antibodies to fight that antigen.
Okay.
So that's where the antibodies come in. But the problem is, for my unvaccinated people, by the time your body builds up a defense, it's already ravaging through your body.
Ooh.
Yeah, I mean, it takes too long for your body to build up a big enough response to totally eradicate COVID.
Okay.
It takes days for your body to be, and then sometimes your body will not produce a big enough response to get it out.
Oh wow!
And COVID is sneaky. It sits and wait. It sits, and specifically with your mom.
Yeah, it did.
It sat and waited. It sat and waited. So it just kind of sneaky. It sits down in those organs, and all of a sudden your body is like, we got to get rid of this, and it goes into overdrive. Yeah. And it starts releasing different chemicals, and you may go into, respiratory distress syndrome, or what we call ARDS. Okay. Where that haziness we see it on the X-ray, and like the lungs are completely whited out. Like we can't even see the structures. Wow. It's just a white out appearance on the X-ray, and that is due to the inflammatory response that happens with COVID. Okay. Because your body's releasing all these chemicals trying to fight it, and then it just makes inflammation just go sky high. Wow. And it gets in those lungs. And what we try to do is sometimes we have to put people on the ventilator, and basically what we're trying to do is give that person's lungs a rest, because your body is basically fighting to stay alive, and that's just what's happening. It's just trying to keep yourself alive. So it just makes your body work super duper hard. So I know there was a question about also talking about long haulers, what we call long haulers. Yeah. So people who have had severe cases of COVID, sometimes we call them long haulers if they're still having some symptoms. Yeah. A lot of times we may see it with the respiratory system. Yes. Because with that respiratory distress and all that inflammation, sometimes it will cause scar tissue in the lungs. Okay. And they will continue to have respiratory symptoms, not as bad as when it was COVID, right? But just they may continue to have that shortness of breath with exertion, or they may need oxygen sometimes. It's and they're more susceptible too, especially this time of the year. It's the winter time, right? Yes. So the cold air, that comes in. Yeah. So Yeah, so that it can do a lot. It can do a lot of damage to the body. The one of the best defense, which we'll talk about, and which we know is controversial, is the COVID-19 vaccine.
Yes.
And so if you're on social media and you get into those comments, you're like, oh my goodness, what is going on? There's so much misinformation about the vaccine out here.
Yes.
So the regimen is 2 shots, first and second the first shots, and getting a booster, down the line. Yeah. If I'm not mistaken, I think it's still 6 months later. Now, your body as soon as you get that shot, and this is another myth that I hear a lot. People will say, if I get the COVID-19 shot, they're giving me COVID-19.
Yes, you do.
No, they're not giving you COVID.
That.
You're not getting COVID. That is not what you're getting when you get the COVID-19 shot. That is actually a myth.
Good.
It's actually what we call an mRNA vaccine. It is a new technology, which I think a lot of people were very suspicious. Like, how could they come up with this vaccine this fast? Number one, we're in a pandemic, so we got to do something.
Yes.
And number two, they were already working on the technology before the pandemic started. So that's probably why they were able to streamline it a lot quicker. So with that mRNA vaccine, you're not getting the actual virus, but it's actually a messenger. This is so weird. It's not weird, but it's really cool and like kind of weird. So it makes a blueprint for making proteins to fight the disease. It's like a blueprint. Just causes your body to like make antibodies specific to
COVID-19 to fight it off if you get it.
And the variants. So here's the thing, and we get this question a lot, and especially when I get vaccines. Why are people who are vaccinated, boosted, still getting COVID?
Yeah.
Well, here's the thing. Because the vaccine there's a certain amount of time they have to respond to the new variants. And because COVID is moving so fast, they cannot get those variants under control. So the vaccine that we all got, if you're vaccinated in, let's say I was vaccinated with my initial vaccine back in February of last year.
Yeah, 2021.
So that was against a specific variant. It's not against Omicron.
Oh, wow.
It's not against Delta.
Oh, yeah.
But I still have antibodies to COVID. So if I somehow, got infected, my body already has some antibodies built up for COVID, maybe not specific to that variant, but it's not going to take me days to try to fight this off. So that's why when you have people who are vaccinated and they get COVID, they're not sick as long. They may be sick for about 3 days, and then it's like, oh, okay, I feel better.
Right. It's like maybe a little light flu or a little light cold.
Unvaccinated, that's the ones that have more of a longer time building those antibodies up.
Okay, wow.
So they're talking about, now that the booster's out. And they're talking about the possibility of a 4th booster.
My goodness.
Or a 4th shot.
I'm tired. I know y'all are tired. I'm tired. I get it.
The 4th shot. So, and they're going to make it, they're talking about making it specific to Omicron. But, and I think if for anybody that has pre-existing conditions, immunocompromised, anybody, get boosted.
Yeah.
There's another variant around the corner. It's already in Paris.
Oh my God.
So, yeah.
Oh God. Okay.
Here's the thing about COVID.
Yeah. What can we do?
What can we do? So, everybody that is out there has either had it or they know somebody that's had it. It's just one of those things. At some point, I'm assuming like most viruses, the virus, how aggressive the virus is will start to go down over time.
Okay.
So years from now, if we get COVID, it'll be like when you had a flu.
Right.
If you have a mild case of the flu or something like that, that's the thing. But since it's a new virus and our bodies are not used to this, it's having a whole thing. The other myth regarding this vaccine too is it does not affect your DNA. I hear that all the time. And I'm like, no. It's not going to alter your DNA. It's not going to do any of that.
Oh my God.
It's just not.
Yeah.
It's not. And listen, I am all for vitamins.
Yes.
I'm all for elderberry.
Yes.
I'm all for all sea moss, everything.
Sea moss, yes, all of that.
But your best protection is going to be that vaccine.
Okay.
That vaccine. Also, of course, masking, limiting your time, limiting going places that have a lot of people.
Yeah.
Washing your hands. All of those things still need to be in place until we can get control over this.
Wow.
So yeah, we're gonna be in mask for a little bit longer.
Yeah, I've been feeling that.
Yeah, we probably got another 6 months.
Okay, 6 months.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll see if this stands.
Right. I know, right?
We'll revisit this in 6 months.
Yeah, right. In 6 months, she'll be back. Okay, we'll be talking some more.
We'll talk and see.
We'll see if we got a mask on for the. God. Yeah. So okay. So gotcha. Biggest advice as far as COVID-19, go ahead and get vaccinated. Wear the mask, wash the hands. Advice that you would give in terms of just healthy heart care for everybody.
So biggest advice is diet.
Okay.
That's a huge one.
Okay.
Watching the type of fats you bring in. There's some good and bad fats out there.
Right.
Your good fats are going to be things that come from like almonds and, avocado, salmon, those are good healthy fats.
Yes.
And they actually decrease the inflammation in your body too. So that's a good thing.
Okay.
Exercising. What do they say? 3 days per week, 50 minutes of vigorous activity.
Ooh, my God.
So if you can pull it off, hey, if you can get 2 in,
you're doing good. Be proud of yourself.
Be proud of yourself. Also, there was something else. Stress reduction, what we talked about earlier.
Yeah.
And just knowing your risk, knowing your family risk, knowing, that's very, very important. So, those are my biggest things.
Okay. So, and one last thing. For any caretakers of people, whether they're people that have had COVID or just caretakers, period, that is a hard job.
Yes, it is.
It is really a hard job. Sometimes the caretakers have to even do the advocating for their for their loved ones because maybe there's things going on. So, no matter what condition they're facing, is there any kind of advice that you would give to caretakers
Absolutely.
out there?
So, here's the thing. And I talked to you about this when your mom was sick.
Yes.
So, the squeaky wheel gets the oil.
Yeah.
So if you have a family member that is in the hospital, and it doesn't even have to be COVID, it could be anything. Being a nurse on the floor, if I had that family I knew was going to call me at 8 o'clock every morning and ask how mom or dad was doing, I knew I had to be on my game.
Yes.
And I knew I needed to look up all the information that I needed before the phone rang and I knew who it was. I was just built like that. I knew what I needed to have for this family member, and they felt comfortable because I knew what was going on. Ask questions. Don't just let people tell you anything and don't have a follow-up question behind it. Ask questions. If something does not sound right to you, ask. That I know somebody that had such and such, and I heard they did this.
Okay. Make
suggestions. Don't be afraid to make suggestions. Because sometimes we're not thinking like that. And if somebody says, I had a family member and they tried this, and I'm like, you know what? Let's try it. You know what I'm saying? Maybe this could work for this person. Get you an advocate. Yeah. So if you have a family member that is in healthcare, nurse, physician, whatever, or if you know somebody who's in healthcare or, talk to them. Yeah. Because they're always going to tell you the answers. They're going to tell you the questions you need to ask. And be specific in your questions.
Yes.
Be specific, because I'm going to tell you right now, if you're asking the right questions, that's going to change the whole dynamic of the conversation.
Yes.
And they know, okay, I can't just say just anything to this person because they sound like they know something.
Exactly.
They sound like they know something. Just advocate for your family as much as possible.
Yes.
Advocate. Be an advocate.
Yes. Love it. Oh my God. Sis, thank you so much again for agreeing to be on the
Yeah,
show.
no
I'm
doubt.
telling you, this is one of my sisters, is one of my best friends, one of my tribe members. I mean, I'm so thankful and grateful for her. My whole family is.
Oh,
Again, like I said, everybody calls her. If you got a cut, you call it her.
Yeah.
But again, just doing some of the hardest times in my
Yeah.
family's life. We're dealing with my father, my grandmother, and my mother. And when I tell y'all back to back to back to back, I mean back to back to back to back.
Oh, yeah.
But when I tell you she had all the information, like I said, when we talked to those doctors and those nurses, they literally were asking us, "Are you guys nurse practitioners?" And then they started talking the language
Right,
of,
they do.
"Oh, well, yeah, we'll look into that." And they knew we were calling.
That's true.
Zoom calls and regular
Absolutely.
phone calls. So that's true. And the other
Absolutely.
thing you told me was you're not getting on their nerves.
No.
You're not getting on
That's
those
what
health
they are
professional nerves.
for.
That is what they're there for.
No, absolutely.
So make sure, like you said, advocate.
And even
advocate.
if they sound like you're getting on their nerves, oh well.
Oh well. Yeah, they know they can't, But shout out to all of the healthcare workers.
Yeah,
you guys have been working so hard. Everything you all have been facing, even before COVID-19. But my God, during this whole entire run, shout out to all of you all. Doing an excellent job. Sis, again, I'm so proud of you.
Oh, I'm
Make
proud
sure
of
you check out Aspire Healthcare.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
You need any type, you're ready to get your, ready to go into the healthcare field. You're transitioning from careers.
Yeah.
And you really want to really help be in the healthcare field maybe as a result of COVID-19 or you yourself was taking care of a loved one and you're like, you know what, this is something that I think I can do and be passionate about. Please look them up, sign up for classes. Some of the best teachers and professors, okay?
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Minority-owned business, by us, for us, all of that.
Yeah.
So,
and I just want to say I'm very proud of you.
Oh,
this has been a long time in the making.
Girl.
I was encouraging you.
Yes, you were.
Said, you got to get this done. You got to do it.
Yeah, she stepped out there first, entrepreneur-wise, and we was like praying, like, "Oh Lord, help her!" And she was like, "Summer, you're up next. What are you doing?"
What are you
then
doing?
our other friend Kiana, and then encouraging Yolanda. We was just so it's a crew of us, y'all.
Yeah, I would sure text and say, "What are you doing about this?
Right?
What is it? What day? What's the date?
Right? when is it happening?
When is it happening?"
So
I'm very proud
thank
of
you, friend. So definitely appreciate you. So love you.
Oh,
so
yes.
in closing. Don't forget to breathe. Know that you are God's greatest creation. Now go out and pursue and fulfill your purpose unapologetically because someone is waiting on you. I hope that you experience God's joy, love, and peace. Stay safe, be kind, and take care of each other's hearts. Peace, my friends, until we meet again. KPP Transformational Life podcast signing off. I'll see you in 2 weeks.
It's for you. It's for you. Lord, can I dwell in you? Here's my heart. Here's my heart. It's for you. Yes. Lord, can I rest in you? Here's my heart. Here's my heart. It's for you. Yes. Lord, can I